Did you know that the time you go to bed can affect your memory, blood pressure, and even your mood? Especially after the age of 70. Today we'll talk about what time older adults should go to bed to wake up refreshed instead of exhausted. These are simple yet important tips from doctors. You'll understand what exactly changes with age and how a small adjustment to your sleep routine can restore energy, clarity, and peace. The first thing I would start with is the bedtime itself. After 70, our bodies produce less melatonin, the very hormone that helps us fall asleep on time and feel rested. Many older people complain that they can't fall asleep before midnight, wake up early, and then feel tired all day, with brain fog and fluctuating blood pressure. It's important to understand, the body doesn't age suddenly. It simply signals that the old schedule no longer works. And the most helpful thing you can do is adjust to new biorhythms rather than fight them. I know firsthand how difficult it can be to change that rhythm. I once worked with a couple, David and Marilyn, aged 73 and 75, from a small town in Colorado. They were active, loved gardening, but both suffered from chronic fatigue. In the evenings, they watched TV shows until midnight and then struggled to fall asleep. In the morning, sluggishness, headaches, cup after cup of coffee, and during the day, anxiety and even mild panic episodes. I suggested a simple approach. Shift their bedtime gradually over 10 days, first to 11:15 p.m., then 11 to, then 10:45, and so on. Within 2 weeks, they were waking up at 6:30 a.m., feeling calmer, Marilyn's blood pressure had normalized, and David stopped dozing off after lunch. They wrote to me a month later, "We're not just sleeping better. We have energy to live during the day. One of the easiest ways is to start going to bed between 9:30 and 10:30 p.m. That's when the body naturally prepares for sleep. Turn off the TV, dim the lights, drink a warm herbal infusion, or simply sit in silence. These signals help the brain understand. It's time to rest. Even if it feels unfamiliar at first, don't be alarmed. Sleep is like a bird. If you don't chase it, it will land on your shoulder. You deserve to wake up with a clear mind and lightness in your body. Let each night become true restoration, not a struggle." Here's another important point. Morning wake-ups, which often aren't as cheerful as we'd like them to be. After age 70, the internal clock that once ran precisely begins to falter. That's normal. With age, light sensitivity decreases, the nervous system changes, and the brain loses a clear sense of day and night. As a result, a person might wake up too early or, conversely, feel sluggish until noon. But here's the paradox, and it's the morning wake-up, not evening alertness, that most affects how well we sleep the following night. When you wake up at different times, the body gets confused, and sleep doesn't come in the evening again. I once worked with a man named Richard, 78 years old, from North Carolina. He told me, "Doctor, I just don't understand what's happening. I used to wake up at 6 a.m., feeling great. Now I can barely get up at 9 a.m. and feel sluggish all day." We looked at his daily routine. After retiring, he had gradually started going to bed later, first at 11 p.m., then at 12:30. At first, he enjoyed the freedom, but after a few months he noticed he wasn't getting anything done, kept forgetting where he'd put his keys, and kept dozing off during the day. We agreed to try waking up at the same time every day, even if it was just 7 a.m. The first few days were hard, but by the second week he said, "I feel like I'm living by the day again, not by the night." He started going for morning walks, drinking coffee by the window, reading the newspaper in the sunlight, and by evening he would start yawning around 10 p.m. No pills, no forcing it. Just because his body now knew, the day has started, so night will come on time. What often helps is choosing a fixed wake-up time and sticking to it every day, even on weekends. For example, 6:30 or 7 a.m. It's like setting a rhythm. The body adjusts to it and eventually begins to wake up at the right time on its own. Remember how, as a child, your inner alarm rang even before your mum's footsteps. That internal clock is still within you. Just let it work again, not harshly but with care. A day that begins with clarity brings calm through the evening. The third tip concerns the things we do in the evening without even realizing, and that prevent the body from falling asleep. After 70, the nervous system becomes more sensitive. Experiences that used to pass unnoticed can now linger in the mind, causing anxiety or overexcitement. I'm talking about habits that have become part of the evening: loud news, intense TV, shows, phone conversations before bed, even simple cleaning or family discussions. All of this prevents the brain from understanding that the day is over. The body is tired and wants to sleep, but the mind is still on the run. I remember one of my patients, Mrs. Hazel, 82, from Illinois. Every night she would turn on the news at 9 p.m. to stay informed, as she said. Then she'd call her daughter to share her worries and go to bed around midnight. And then she'd complain, "I lie down and my thoughts flutter like birds. They just won't settle." When I asked what she did during the hour before bed, she was surprised. Just the usual: news, calls, doing the dishes. We talked about how the brain, like the body, needs a transition from day to night. Gradually, she began turning off the TV earlier, using a warmer lamp, listening to music, and created her own evening mug: warm water with mint. 2 weeks later, she called and said, "You know, for the first time in a long while, I didn't wake up at 3 a.m. in a panic. One of the simplest ways is to shut off everything stimulating an hour before bed: the TV, loud conversations, even the news. It's better to spend this time quietly. Read a book, listen to music, do a few gentle stretches, or simply gaze out the window at the evening light. Sleep isn't a switch, it's a path. And if you walk it calmly, without rushing, it will take you to a place where the body and mind find peace. You can create your own evening island of quiet. Even 20 minutes of calm will do more than pills or self-blame." The fourth point I want to talk about is the fear that arises when sleep doesn't come. Many older people don't complain so much about insomnia itself, but rather about the sense of helplessness it brings. They say, "I feel tired, my eyes are closing, but the moment I lie down, it's like a radio switches on inside me." And the more a person tries to fall asleep, the more anxious they become. This is a very common pattern after age 70, when someone goes to bed already afraid they won't be able to sleep. But that fear only makes it harder to relax, creating a vicious cycle. The more you wait for sleep, the less it comes. I vividly remember one man, Walter, 80 years old, a widower from Texas. He said he was afraid to go to bed every night. "I already know I'll be tossing and turning." It turned out that after his wife passed away, he became anxious and hypersensitive to every sound at night. He would lie awake for hours, get up, pace the house, drink tea, turn on the radio, and still not fall asleep. I told him something simple: if you can't sleep, don't fight it. Just don't stay in bed too long. We agreed that if sleep didn't come within 20-30 minutes, he would get up, sit in a chair, play quiet music, or read a light book. 3 weeks later, he told me, "You know, doctor, I'm no longer afraid of the bed. Sleep comes on its own. I just stopped getting in its way. What often helps is not forcing yourself to sleep at any cost. If you haven't fallen asleep, after 30 minutes, get up, sit quietly, breathe, wrap yourself in a blanket. Then, when drowsiness returns, lie down again. That's how you break the cycle of anxiety and helplessness. Sleep isn't a military order. It doesn't obey pressure. It's like water: you can't grab it, but you can shape a channel for it. Give yourself permission for a gentle night, without blame, without struggle. You deserve peace, even if it doesn't come right away." The fifth thing I want to talk about is the ability to listen to your body, not just the clock. Very often, older adults try to follow the norm, going to bed at 10 or 9:30 p.m., just as the doctors said. But if the body isn't ready, internal tension builds up. "I should be asleep," they tell themselves, but sleep doesn't come. Then the thoughts start. What's wrong with me? Why am I not like everyone else? In truth, our bodies don't follow a rigid schedule. They send us signals, but softly, almost like a whisper, and it's important to learn to hear those signals. Especially after 70, when rhythms change and what matters most isn't the time on the clock, but how you actually feel. I once had a client named Joan, 79, from Pennsylvania. After retiring, she became very concerned about her health and imposed a strict routine, bed at exactly 10 p.m. But sleep still wouldn't come. She lay awake, listened to the ticking clock, and grew anxious. We began to explore when she actually felt sleepy. It turned out that most often it was around 9:15, and sometimes, if she had walked more than usual during the day, around 10:30. We changed the approach. She began listening to herself. An hour before bed, a warm bath, no TV, a bedside, lamp, a cup of chamomile tea. I stopped looking at the clock, she told me, and for the first time in years I felt like I trust myself again. One of the simplest ways is to stop chasing a precise bedtime and instead observe, when do you start yawning slightly, feel heaviness in your eyes, a warm sensation in your body? That's your sign to go to bed. If those signals don't come, just rest, don't rush yourself. Sleep is like a train, it arrives at its own platform, and you're not the conductor and you're the passenger. And if you take your seat calmly without worry, it will carry you to the morning you need. You have the right to sleep like that, without pressure, truly your own. Thank you for staying with us in this video. If you found something helpful, please share in the comments, what time do you go to bed? It will help others feel less alone. Subscribe and hit the bell. We have many more warm and meaningful topics ahead for both body and soul. And remember, you are not alone. You are stronger than you think. And life, it's right here if you reach out and hold its hand.